Hello, we're there today to speak about forage quality and dry matter losses, all you need to know. I'm Bernard Andrieux, I'm Global Technical Manager for the forage activities within Lallemand. So we talk a lot about dry matter losses, fresh matter losses when we talk about forage quality. The fresh matter is actually the total mass of forage that is inside, when the dry matter is actually all the dry compound of the forage minus the water that's extracted during a drying process. Dry matter losses are inevitable up to a certain degree. Silage is a losing process, and they represent the loss of forage mass from what has been inside to what we can feed the cows with. This loss of forage, of roughage, feed for cows, it's also a loss of nutrients, and the more we lose, the more we need to replace it from more forage to be produced on the farm, or forage we buy, or compound feed we buy. So beyond the technical loss, it's a financial loss. Yes, we lose dry matter in every type of silage during the fermentation. At least some gas losses and effluent losses during the front-end fermentation or the acidification phase. The second time or the second phase where we can lose dry matter is during the aerobic stability, or once the silo is exposed to oxygen. So that's what we call the back-end losses, or the secondary fermentation losses, or the aerobic stability losses. We lose in the best case scenario around 6 to 7% of the forage mass that's been inside. So when you harvest 100 tons, the cows will be fed with 93, 94. That's pretty much what you have. In the worst case scenario, these losses can go up to 20 to 30% from what has been inside. Well, dry matter losses during the preservation process, apart from the mechanical ones, they're all related to fermentations. So as long as you master the fermentation process, you're able to control the losses, and you're able to limit the losses during the ensiling process. It looks pretty simple on the paper. It's actually a lot about knowing what's going on, about knowing all the practices and making sure that you adapt your practices to the conditions, to the environment, to your farm, to your own situation, to make sure that you have the ability to control that fermentation process. Well, corn silage have some dry matter losses as well, and even though they may be limited during the first phase, the acidification phase, they can outreach up to 10% on the secondary fermentation or during the aerobic stability. So yes, corn silage is sensitive to dry matter losses as any other forage we can ensile. Well, if we do a rapid literature review on the dry matter losses, the minimal ones are around 6 to 7%. You install 100 tons of silage, cows will be fed 94 to 93. That's more or less what you have. But if we look at the normal conditions, silage made under real life conditions, in farm conditions, the average loss is more like 15%. So you install 100 tons and cows will be fed 85. Well, somehow, too much losses is as soon as you know that you could have done something better to control the losses. So you really have to apply all the good practices. You really have to know all the consequences of every practices during the ensiling process to make sure that you're limiting these losses. But as soon as you know something can be done better, you have lost too much. Well, dry matter loss being all related to fermentation, microbiological inoculant, being bacteria, have the ability to control the losses and have been widely demonstrated to be effective in controlling dry matter losses during the ensiling process. So homolactic inoculants, the ones producing lactic acid from sugars, they have the ability to rapidly drop the pH and to control the front-end fermentation, the early fermentation. Whereas the heterolactic inoculant, the antifungal inoculant, have the ability to produce different compounds that are inhibiting the yeast, and the yeast are responsible of the secondary fermentation. That is seen on farm with heating or mold appearance or even effluent production in the worst case scenario. You can't fix bad silage, you can only deal with it, whether it's good or bad, but you have to deal with, you have to minimize all the bad impact from poor forage quality on your rationing system, on your financial system as well, because that implies to buy some compound feed or whatever, and to the health of your animals, so you have to deal with that. So yes, using inoculants, as long as these inoculants have been proven to be effective, they were documented, they were independently proven, and they were independently documented, not only by the supplier, it's a solution to actually prevent the losses. It's a solution to maintain the profitability of your forage system in your farms. Dry matter losses are just inevitable during the ensiling process. Silage is a losing process from a forage. So producing good forage quality is one thing. That does not necessarily say you will have a good silage quality. So making sure that you have all your assets in hand and that you control the whole process to limit the losses is your objective, is your main objective, to keep the profitability or to improve the profitability of your systems.